Morata, il destro, bene per Dybala, sinistro, gol!
Lewandowski, Ball rein damit in die Mitte, Schieber mit dem Kopf, Reus, quer, Linie, Tor,
Golazo de Cristiano Ronaldo para el Real Madrid.
Il est passé Lucas, il est passé, il va tenir ce ballon, le remettre dans la... Quel but extraordinaire d'André Livoria.
Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast, episode 23. A day late, I have to apologise. I, being your host, Kris, had some issues last night with a bit of scheduling, so we do apologise. We are a day late, but nevertheless, we haven't let you down. We're still here, and we're here as a group as usual. I've got John, I've got Tom, and I've got Drew, the full crew together again. Good afternoon, evening, and morning, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Evening.
Morning, it's 6 o'clock. It's good evening.
It's all different times, all different locations, but we're all here nevertheless. So, yes, that's the apologies out the way, but we're here to talk football as we do every week. So let's get straight involved. And our usual segment to start off, it's the Mighty 90. Okay, this week, John, pressure's on you to start us off this week, and I've got some new funky sound effects to play with. So as well as the usual clock, you're also going to get a little bit of a nudge when your time is up. So, are you ready?
I am ready.
Then your time begins now.
Well, Friday we travelled away to Schalke, and we kept up our fantastic away performances that we've done all season. We lost. It finished 2-1 to Schalke in the end. Actually, it wasn't too bad a game. We actually played quite well. First half, put some real pressure on them, but we couldn't really find the breakthrough. But I was quite happy with the performance. I thought, this is much better than we've been doing previously. And then second half, Hinteregger opened the scoring. Unfortunately, he opened the scoring for Schalke. He's second own goal in 9 games, so maybe not the greatest start to his Gladbach career. Good run down the left-hand side from Leroy Sana, put the ball across, and Hinteregger put it into the back of his own net. Andreas Christensen, the loanee from Chelsea, did pull us level, but Leon Goretzka, whose name I've just said horribly wrong, so Drew will laugh at me, deflected shot late on, gave Schalke all 3 points. So Schalke are a little bit lucky with their goals, but it's got to be said that Ralph Farman was really good in goal for Schalke, putting a real man-of-match performance. It's our 8th away defeat of the season now. It's starting to become a real issue and could end up costing us any chance of the Champions League spot. We're now down to 5th, 2 points behind Schalke and 6 points behind Hertha. So my hopes of maybe securing the qualification spot are slipping away a little bit maybe, and it might be looking like Europa League is what we'll be hoping for.
And there's your time. Lovely little sound effect there. Happy days. Right. Thank you very much, John. So not a good start, I think it's fair to say. So we'll see if we can improve it. He says, glancing across at Drew. It's your turn, Drew. So your Mighty 90 begins now.
All right, well, we stay on track. Hosted the Graafschap at home and ran out 3-1 winners. But it was, ironically enough, it's a kind of a typical Arsenal performance from Feyenoord. We were on the back foot for the first 25 minutes, and actually the Graafschap opened the scoring. Robin Proper slammed home from 6 yards away after a corner. But that was the last, all 5 shots they registered in the match came in those first 25 minutes. And after that, it was all Feyenoord. And we ended up finding our first goal in 55 minutes. Michel Kramer leveled matters. Then Alher Elia scored on 76, and then Boomer from De Graafschap had an own goal on the 82nd minute, so that sealed all the points. But it's a little bit worrying. It's again one of those slow starting performances where if it's a better team who isn't sitting 17th in the table, where they may have gone on to score a second, and we're going to be struggling at that point. But some positives for sure. Gustafsson featured back in the lineup, although he only completed 50 minutes. But Kramer, Elia have looked good going forward yet again. Tornstra keeps playing on the right-hand side, and Dirk Kuyt actually didn't feature at all. So if we can get a good performance without our leading scorer, then I'm pleased. So with that result, we're actually distanced ourselves for third place, as did Alkmaar actually drew away at 20, 2-2. So now we're 2 points ahead of Alkmaar for the automatic qualification spot in third. But Ajax and PSV still keep rolling, even though PSV lost against Ajax at the weekend, but we're still 17 points behind. So still going well.
Superb. Very, very good. Thank you very much, Drew. Mighty Knight, you'll get the hang of this. I like it. It's good.
I hate you.
I know. That's what I'm here for. Right, Tom, you will get the honour of going third this week, so ahead of mine. Thank God. More on that later. So your time then, Tom, begins now.
Okay, so home run now towards the title race, and after our draw against Wolfsburger last time, it was time to get back on track. And Keita, Hee-Chan Huang, Pavilion, Upamecano, love that name, all got starts this week, and the balls began well. Soriano hitting a shot comfortably saved by Custa though. Some sloppy passing allowed a Mattersburg attack, but Perlak's shot was tame and Valka easily saved. Keita brilliantly then laid through Soriano, who squared to Berisha and finished a vacant goal to make it 1-0. Huang was then laid in by Keita, that little man again, creating many chances, but Custa blocked the shot. Keita himself had a shot, was also saved by Custa, and still in the first half of all these chances, Keita was brought down in the box by Sprangler, and Soriano stepped up to slot away the penalty to make it 2-0. Second half, Mattersburg did pull one back. Jano's corner met Ipsa, who volleyed in comfortably to make it 2-1. And that's how it finished. So we've actually got a win on the board, and that set up us a 4 points clear before Rapid's game. And Rapid could not take advantage. Their poor form has continued. They lost 1-0 away to SV Ried, so that remains with a 4 point gap. Austria Vienna, they drew 0-0 at Wolfsburger, and so they now are 7 points off of us. So the title race is really looking up for us. After the break, we go to Rapid. So it's the big game, and we hope we can take 3 points and be 7 points clear.
Oh, look at that. What a professional, Tom. What a professional.
I try.
You lay the groundwork and we just come and build all over it. You're going to love it.
Drew's hating the smug face I've got on right now.
I know. It's like that emoji with the smuggy grin thing. I can see it now. Right. Okay. Let's move on to me. I'll round us off. Oh, God, this is going to be fun. Right. My Mighty 90 begins now. So this week, Lorient went to Angers, who, if you might remember at the start of the season, were the surprise package of Ligue 1. It's the Stade Jean-Bouin Stadium. 11,553 witnessed a 5-1 victory for the home side. Yes, that's 5-1. Le Goff replaced Rafa Guerrero, Filipotto and Cabo also in for Jeannot and Balaguer in the starting lineup, and Lorient switched formations to a 4-4-1-1, looking to counter-attack. But from the off, Angers were pretty hot. Ketkea Umfonfone, Danny's favourite player, he fired them one up on 14 minutes with a low near-shot finish past Lecomte, and 15 minutes later, Mangani headed the second after Lecomte's save, and goal line technology gave the goal. Roman Saiss was up next to bag a controversial third, it has to be said, because he hit a shot and it hit Ndoye, who was a mile offside, but nevertheless it was given. 5 minutes before half-time, and 2 minutes before the break, Majid Waris fired Lorient back into the game, seemingly, after Letelier in goal's error. But straight after the second half, it was a fairly even second half, to be perfectly honest, but with the last 10 minutes, Ndoye scored a fourth from close range before Lindsay Rose took out Ketkea Umfonfone again for a penalty. Mangani converted, and a 5-1 defeat, which is pretty hard to take. Has to be said, to a team that Angers who have dropped away recently, but it leaves Lorient looking over their shoulders a little bit. They're now 13th on 39 points, and that is just 6 points clear of the drop zone. And their next fixture after the internationals is at home to Lyon next Sunday week. Hey, I'm not bad either, Tom. I'm doing all right myself. You know, I could do it within the time. 6 goals, no less. Yeah. Anyway, let's leave that behind, because trust me, I'd like to leave it behind. Not a good week for Les Merlots. So let's take a trip into our usual parts of Europe, and we'll start with our global trot of stats. European trot of stats, I should say. It's this week's World of Football. Okay then, so let's go through the statistics of the week. Start in the Premier League as we always do. There were 23 goals, 6 clean sheets, no red cards, 3 home wins, 5 away wins from the 10 games. In France and Liga, there was 30 goals, 6 clean sheets, no red cards, amazingly, 6 home wins and 3 away wins for the 10 games. In sunny Spain in La Liga, there was 27 goals and 4 clean sheets, 1 red card, and that was 4 home wins, 3 away from home in the 10 games. In Serie A in Italy, there were 21 goals, 4 clean sheets, 5 red cards, 2 home wins, 3 away, again from the 10 games. And finally, the 9 games in Germany in the Bundesliga, 22 goals, 3 clean sheets, 0 red cards. There were 3 home wins and 4 away wins. Rather than picking out a statistic for the week, I'm just going to give you the weekly totals this week. So 123 goals across our Big 5 leagues, 23 clean sheets, 6 red cards only this week, and there were 18 home wins, 18 away wins, and that was from the 49 games played across the Big 5 leagues this weekend. So that's a couple of stats, and that's my computer making a very odd noise. Beautiful, see, live this is, boys and girls. So that's the stats. So we'll take our little trip then into our European roundups, and this week I have decided to start in Italy and with John, and it's this week's Serie A. Okay then, John, we are going to start with a team close to your heart and indeed mine, and they would be Inter Milan, and they took a trip to the inform Roma. How did this one go?
Well, one of our lovely cliche klaxons should be sounding, if we can imagine one. This is there we go, very good in person. Yeah, again, it's just a fight for third for the Champions League spot in Serie A. Roma have just come into the game off of a run of 8 wins in the league, and it finished 1-1. Which you would think is not a bad result for Inter. A little bit more disappointing for Roma's point of view, because it was all them basically from the get-go. Salah and El Shaarawy really showing how much of a threat they were. Salah actually got the ball in the back of the net, but was rightly called back for offside. But it was a wonderful, wonderful little move, and just showing that they can do all the intricate passing where they need to, and little 1-2s, but sometimes just simply give the ball to Pjanic, who can seem to find either Mo Salah or Stefan El Shaarawy at complete ease. It was Inter who actually broke the deadlock though. Perisic, who's been in really good form of late, didn't start his career at Inter very well, but doing really well now. Brozovic assist. Probably Szczesny should have done a little bit better. He did get a hand to it, but wasn't quite strong enough. And it was in the end a scrappy goal from Roma that got back in the game from Raja Nainggolan. Ball fell to him in the box, and as he likes to do, sort of half laying on the floor, got a really good connection on it. Decent result for Inter. Doesn't really help them. They really needed to win to put any more pressure on Roma, but I think the third spot was kind of slipping away from them anyway. Roma will be a little bit disappointed themselves, because I think they probably were the better team in the game, and if they wanted to maybe push for second, I think that's now gone for them as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Szczesny probably could have done better with the opener, but given the situation of both sides, you pretty much say, as you say, a draw not ideal for the two clubs. But let's move on to another game. Now, Verona. Most people, I would suggest, seem to think that they are kind of doomed in a little bit of a sticky situation down there at the bottom. However, the side that they were playing host to, Carpi, named after me, honest, they're very much not doomed, and the result from this game proves that.
Yeah, Carpi got a 2-1 win away at Verona. Someone might have predicted it. I don't know who that was, but there we go. So yeah, another cliche klaxon here for the relegation 6-pointer, as they say it. It wasn't the greatest game to watch. De Gaudio scoring to take the lead for Carpi. Really, it actually was a decent goal. Great silent run. But Ionita equalised, as usual for Verona, from a set play. Minutes later, though, cue the puntastic thoughts as a tasty free kick was scored by none other than Kevin Lasagna. Put Carpi in the lead. It is a really good free kick, actually, worth looking up. And it gave him all 3 points. Not the greatest game ever, but huge for Carpi because it actually moved them out of the bottom 3. And for a long time, I thought they were gone, and lots of other people did, but they started to turn the form around, a bit like Frosinone had, putting in some decent performances, and they've got themselves out of the relegation zone for now, so it'll be huge if they can stay up. Luca Toni saying at the end of the game that Verona are well gone, and saying that there are players at Verona who do not deserve to be in Serie A.
Interesting quotes. I read that. That was very illuminating. But when he speaks, people listen at the end of the day. Now let's move on to the Turin derby. Torino versus Juventus. Now, more on Gigi Buffon in a moment. First of all, we'll cover the game. But he went into this game knowing that, was it 3 minutes and something odd seconds, he would claim this this record. And I believe he was a victorious man, as indeed were Juve.
Yes, 4-1 win to Juve away to Torino. History made in the Derby della Mole. It was 3 minutes and 4 seconds, I believe Buffon had to keep a clean sheet for, and he did that. He obviously did concede in the game, but the new record now in Serie A, he has broken Sebastiano Rossi's record. The new record now is 974 minutes without conceding a goal. Not the best news for Juve at the start, though, as Dybala went off injured early. But worries were gone as soon as Pogba scored a really good free kick. It's only his ever second free kick he scored for Juventus. Funnily enough, his first one was also against Torino in the derby, so he certainly likes that. Khedira got a second before half time. Second half, though, started Torino looking a little bit better. Alexandre giving away a penalty that Belotti stepped up and scored, as Immobile also had to leave the pitch injured. Maxi Lopez then did score for Torino, and it was incorrectly called as an offside. So cue all the usual complaints of referees giving things to Juventus, but less said about that the better. Pogba did get his second of the game and Juve's third, before Morata rounded things off. Khedira saw red as well late on in the game for dissent. He's now got a 2-game ban for that. So just impressive stuff by Juve as usual. There was a little bit of a wobble in the game, but they came through that. Maybe got a bit of luck there from the referee and the linesman's incorrect decision. But they just keep marching on in Serie A, and at the moment it's only Napoli who can really keep pace with them.
Absolutely, and I believe you've got a little bit of a read that you want to do for us, and rather than put it into the news, because it seems relevant to bring it up now, would you like to read us a little poem that Gigi Buffon was very happy to share with everybody after this game?
Yeah, he wrote 2 pieces. Excuse me. One was about how it's not just him that's made history; it's every single player in the team. And he wrote a piece on every single player in the Juventus squad, which is really impressive. But he wrote this little poem, so I shall read it out for the listeners. I was 12 when I turned my back on you, denying my past to guarantee you a safe future. I went with my heart, I went with my instinct. But the day I stopped looking you in the face is also the day that I started to love you, to protect you, to be your first and last line of defence. I promised myself that I would do everything not to see your face again, or that I would do it as little as possible. It was painful every time I did, turning around and realising I had disappointed you, again and again. We have always been opposites, yet we are complementary, like the sun and the moon, forced to live side by side without being able to touch. Teammates for life, a life in which we are denied all contact. More than 25 years ago I made my vow, I swore to protect you, look after you, a shield against all your enemies. I always thought about your welfare, putting it first, even ahead of my own. I was 12 when I turned my back on my goal, and I will keep doing it as long as my legs, my head and my heart will allow.
Beautiful. Beautifully read as well. I love
that. I apologise, I didn't read it perfectly, but that's, if I was ever to get married, be lucky enough, and someone read me that as my wedding vows, I'd be amazed.
There you go, Gigi. Get in touch. John is ready to rock and roll whenever you are. So there we go. Beautiful. Okay, let's round off then with our final game. Now, this was sort of billed as potentially going to be a classic. It was a side that both teams needed to win, and wouldn't you know it, neither side could win. It was Milan-Lazio on Sunday night. So what went down here?
Yeah, 1-1 draw. Not what either team really needed. Lazio getting an early goal through Marco Parolo from a Biglia corner kick. 5 minutes later, Carlos Bacca, who had been on a little bit of a goal drought, got a good equaliser. But it was the goalkeepers who were the story of the game, particularly Gigi Donnarumma really kept Milan in it. Although Marchetti did also make some good saves, in particular from Bonaventura, who was having one of his really good games. The only real sort of news that came out of it was right at the end that Zapata could have given away a penalty probably late on for a handball. So, you know, I think Lazio felt a little bit hard done by, but considering the form they'd been in, the results they've got, getting a draw away at the San Siro isn't too bad. Mario Balotelli, interestingly, booed by the fans at the San Siro when he came on in the game. And Stefan Lulic also received a second yellow card and got sent off and will miss the Derby della Capitale, which is the return leg for, when is that, 2 weeks' time, I think, after the international break. So yeah, not the best result for either team, but at least Lazio didn't lose again. That was the big thing.
Yeah, very true. It certainly seemed like a game that both sides were trying to win, but as you say, it ended in stalemate. Would you like to run through the other results from this weekend for us?
Yeah, sure. Empoli and Palermo ran out of 0-0, as did Frosinone and Fiorentina. Another good result for Frosinone, not great for Fiorentina. Atalanta got a 2-0 win at home to Bologna, a bit of a surprise there. Chievo won away at Samp, probably less of a surprise. Sastra at home to Udinese, good result for Udine. And Napoli won yet again to keep the pressure up on Juventus at home to Genoa. And yes, Gonzalo Higuain did score, and he scored 2.
Doesn't he? He's just a machine, that man really is.
He is this season.
In a game they struggled in. What about the table then? Where does that leave us, top and bottom?
Yeah, Juve still top on 70. Napoli still second, just 3 points behind on 67. Then it's Roma in third on 60 points. Slipping a little bit further back from those two now, but then they've opened up a bit of a gap to 4th and 5th. That's Fiorentina and Inter Milan, both on 55, and then a 6-point gap back down to Milan in 6th. Down at the bottom, Verona on 19 points, well and truly gone. Frosinone on 19, on 27 points. Palermo now slip into the relegation zone on 28 points, level with Carpi, but who have a better goal difference. And Carpi only 3 points behind Udinese and 4 behind Samp now, so they might even be able to catch a few more and drag them into it as well.
Interesting. So Palermo in the relegation zone, so we can expect them to have another 3 new managers within the next fortnight. So
I would assume that we'll have gone through a few just in the international break, yeah.
Good times. Okay, super. There's no game, obviously, to pick out because it is international break next week. So I'm going to ask you, and indeed all of our pundits, you have a national squad from Italy to read through very quickly for the upcoming friendlies.
Yeah, no surprises, most of the names. Gigi Buffon, Lorenzo Di Silvestri, Luca Antonelli, Matteo Darmian, David Astore, Antonio Candreva, Simone Zezza, Thiago Motta, Graziano Pella, Lorenzo Insigne, Salvatore Sirigu, Andrea Ranocchia, Jorginho, who got his first call-up, very good, Francesco Acerbi, Marco Parolo, Eder, Riccardo Montolivo, Leonardo Bonucci, Stefano Okaka, Roberto Soriano, Stefano El Shawari, Emmanuel Giaccarini, Alessandro Florenzi, Daniele Rogani, Mattia Parin, Giacomo Bonaventura, and Federico Bernardeschi.
And a partridge in a pear tree. Splendid. Okay, well, we will no doubt see how those guys get on when we... Serie A returns, I think I'm right saying, as do all the leagues in 2 weeks' time. So
yes, yeah. I think it's April the 1st.
April Fool's Day.
Yes, indeed. There was also a nice little Luca Toni quote as well about strikers for the Italian side. We don't have strikers like Inzaghi, Del Piero, Totti, or me. That's depressing.
you gotta love Luca, haven't you? You gotta love it. You can't not like Luca Toni, can you? Quality, love it. Okay, super. Right, John, I will leave you in peace then for a moment until you come back to me in a mo, and we're going to traverse to another country, and we're going to go to Spain. And Tom, here's this week's La Liga. Right then, Tom, let's talk a bit of Spanish bits and bobs this week. We're going to start with Sporting Gijón, who hosted Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid. A very unhappy Diego Simeone with when this game was scheduled.
I don't know if he's ever happy, to be fair.
No, that is very fair. And he'll be even more unhappy after his side fell to defeat, rather surprisingly.
It did. It was a bit of a weekend of surprises, as I'm sure we'll go into. But starting off with this... even though it was a bit of a surprise result, Athletic did start the better side. They took the lead in it with a 29th minute free kick through who else but Antoine Griezmann. And that lasted until the second half, where Sanabria free kick hit the post, and then a second one he managed to put into the net. It was a bit of a deflection, but took it past the goalkeeper. So that made it 1-1. Carlos Castro then missed the easiest goal I think I've ever seen. I mean, this is I could challenge any of you. Go look at this Carlos Castro miss. The ball is played across to him. There's a slight bounce. He is 3 yards out and he hits the bar. Somehow missed it. I really cannot understand. But then he did make up for it in the 89th minute. Pretty much exactly the same position, same sort of pass. And he managed to finish this time to get a late win for Sporting Gijón. So yeah, surprising result, but they'll be extremely happy, and that could pretty much end the title race in Spain, I think.
I think you might be right, yeah. And as you say, good result for Gijón.
Very much. Second bottom at the time, though.
There you go. So it just goes to show, occasionally you can still get the odd
predictable,
surprise.
yeah.
I wasn't going to say that. You're so defensive.
It's not you. There's plenty of others.
Let's talk about Espanyol, team I know close to your heart. And they were at home to Athletic Club Bilbao, whichever you prefer. And yet again, probably the underdogs came out the victors.
Indeed. Another comeback for the smaller team as well. Arasso putting Bilbao up after some typically awful Espanyol defending. And that was pretty much the highlight of the first half. Second half came around, and then Abraham Corner met Diop's head, and he headed in to equalise to make it 1-1. And then just 3 minutes later, substitute Caicedo, who's had his injury problems this season, came on, and a Moreno pass that was quite excellent was then touched down excellently by Caicedo, who then half volleyed across the keeper and into the net. It was across Araujo, the keeper, and it was quite an impressive finish. So and then he went off injured, quite typically. So that made it 2-1, and Silla could have killed it for Espanyol, but he hit the post as well. So finished 2-1, and Bilbao will really be quite disappointed with that, considering they're trying to get that European spot.
It's fair to say, as you say, that your boys, Espanyol, like you said, I think you said it a while ago, they needed to put a run together, and 3 wins and a draw from the last 5 is definitely a run, I would suggest. So
It certainly is.
Good for them. Good for them. Now, let's move on to the team that everyone seems to look out for, and that's Barcelona. They faced what, on paper at least, looked like a tricky trip to play the Yellow Submarines Villarreal, and it didn't go all their way in this one, did they?
It didn't, and this was a wonderful, wonderful game of football. It had everything pretty much. It had awful officiating, which is so typical of Spain. Some really good goals and a lot of controversy. So, Villarreal started on top as well. Trigueros, should I say, hit the Barca post really early on. And then Rakitic did put Barcelona ahead, had an open goal, some sloppy defending and rebounding passes, let it drop at his feet, and he finished quite easily. And then Pico was already on a yellow. Really should have got a second for bringing down, I believe it was Denis Suarez, but I'm not 100% sure. Marcelino, the manager of Villarreal, was sent to the stands for remonstrating so quite viciously, because it was blatantly a second yellow and it was not given. And it was in a game where the referee literally gave yellow cards for days. He booked 8 of the Villarreal players, I'm pretty sure. So, and they didn't manage to get anyone sent off. So quite impressive that. Neymar was awarded a penalty with another really controversial decision. A perfect challenge by the goalkeeper, Asenjo, and Neymar then converted the penalty, but it definitely was not a pen all day long. And I'm sure our good mate Neil will be reminding me of Barcelona and Real Madrid getting penalties. But second half, and Villa got back in it. Denis Suarez's shot was parried and right into the path of Bakambu, who got it to 2-1. Mathieu then decided to be agent Mathieu and headed into his own net to equalise for Villarreal. And they really kept on pushing, but they couldn't find the winner, and it did finish 2-2. So, yeah, a game that really did have everything.
Really was. As you quite rightly say, it was genuinely a very, very good game of football, and nice to see the underdogs not giving up at 2-0 down as so many would previously. Now, speaking of underdogs, that takes us to... do you know what? I'm not going to call them Gary Neville's Valencia. I'm just going to call them Valencia, because I'm so bored.
The fans won't appreciate you calling that, I'm sure.
So bored of the Gary Neville element. But I watched this game, and Valencia, who were, for large spells on top, were hit with 2... really, really good goals as Celta Vigo came away with a 2-0 victory.
They did indeed, and after an excellent performance in midweek, which still they didn't get the ultimate to go through in the Europa League against Bilbao for a goal that shouldn't have counted as well, handball from Bilbao there. But yeah, it was a good game as well. I still thought, as you say, Valencia were on top. Alcacer had a goal wrongly ruled out for offside. I felt he was onside. Seeing as you watched it, did you see the goal? Did you think he was onside or offside?
I thought I can see why it was given, but I was with you. I think I would have given him the benefit of the doubt myself.
Yeah. I'm very much entitled of giving the benefit of the doubt to the striker, but I'm sure the defenders won't agree with me. And it wasn't until the 80th minute where we got the goal of the match, and it certainly was for Celta. A brilliantly worked goal. Ball came into Oriana, whose first time back heel laid Guidetti up perfectly and slammed it home. And as you think that Valencia will try and come back, no, they decide to leave themselves wide open. And Malo, the right back, great individual goal, running at the near post and firing high into net past Alves, who once again really should be doing better as a goalkeeper, but really quite letting his team down there. And that was that, 2-0, and it really could have been 5 at the end of the day. Vas missed a chance and Oriana missed 2, including an open goal, which he struck the post. So it could have been a lot worse for Mr. Neville.
I think it's fair to say that overall, that I wouldn't say the best team won, but the team with more quality won the game, and that the back heel assist from Orellana, which might get him into a certain team, was just sublime. To take that ball down in one motion and back heel it to such a... I think Guidetti, am I right in saying he went off with a pulled hamstring in the celebration?
Yeah, he did.
Which was quite funny. I always like it when that happens. But no, just a sublime goal. And Celta, a fun side to watch, especially in that lovely green kit. Anywho, what about the other results then from this weekend?
So Getafe, they didn't get a win again, but they did earn a draw against Eibar. Velasquez scoring again, the defender, and but a late Borja Baston, excellent back-heeled goal, shared the spoils of the points. Real Sociedad, yet again, were beaten by Las Palmas. So a team that are really in great form at the moment. William Jose was the goal of the goal, his 8th league goal of the season, and that claimed all 3 points. Rayo drew 2-2 for the 5th time in 9 games. So 5th 2-2 of their season in 9 matches, which is quite incredible, against Granada. El Arabi with a brace for Granada, 1 was a penalty, and Pablo Hernandez and an 87th minute equaliser from Zé Castro got the goals for Rayo. Deportivo won for the first time in 16 matches. That's right, 16 matches. Luis Alberto got Depor the lead, but Rossi got his 4th La Liga goal for Levante to equalise. And the draw was definitely on the cards, Depor, and I really thought they were going to get it again. But Diego Marino of Levante went and spoiled the party, scoring an own goal and getting Depor the win. Malaga had to wait to the 82nd minute to get their win away to Betis. Camacho getting a flicked-on header to put the Malaga side ahead. And that's how it finished. The game, Benzema and Ronaldo and Bale all scored in the Real Madrid match, as well as Hesse. It was a goal that really did show Real Madrid's quality, I thought. Often they get criticised for going quite mad, but it was a game that had everything, and 2 penalties were missed, one for Sevilla with Gamiro missing, and Ronaldo skied one way over the bar. And Keylor Navas had an excellent game in goal as well. So that will be certainly one to take forward to next season in terms of their goalkeeping transfer dilemmas.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Gamero miss was so key, because if that goes in, it's a different game.
Yeah,
so.
It was 1-1 at that point if it was going in.
Yes, poor old Kevin. Still love you. Right, where does that leave us on the table?
So the top 7, there is some change this time. I've gone for, I've not gone for it, it's decided, but Barca have got 76 points, Atleti on 67, Real 3rd, 1 point behind now on 66, Villarreal on 54, Sevilla 48 points, Celta now on 6th, also on 48 points, and Bilbao failed to take advantage with the loss to Espanyol on 47. The bottom 6, Levante in 20th on 24 points, Sporting Gijón on 27, Getafe on 28, Granada also on 28, Rayo also on 28, and Las Palmas on 33. And Valencia are now 6 points off the relegation zone.
Ouch. Keep an eye on them. Okay, and same question to you as I gave John. There is a Spain squad that has been announced for the upcoming friendlies. Who's in?
Yeah, I did notice that you tried to put the best Italian accent on all of the players, so I'll give it the best go I can.
Just to put the pressure on for you and Drew.
Yes, so I'll go with, I've got Casillas, that was awful, De Gea, Sergio Rico, Juan Fran, Mario Gaspar, Piqué, Bartra, Ramos, Nacho, Alba, Azpilicueta, Busquets, San Jose, Sergio Roberto, Cesc, Koke, Thiago, Isco, Silva, Mata, Alcacer, Morata, Adarif, finally, Nolito, and Pedro. There you go.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mexican Tom. That's
Drops the mic.
Very much appreciated. Superb. Okay, I will try and put a French accent on for mine, and Drew will do the same with a German accent, I'm sure. So if you want to catch us on live podcast sounding like complete idiots, you can keep this forever and ever. Right, thank you very much, Tom. So again, La Liga returns in 2 weeks' time, so we will be across that when it gets underway. This is the part where I hand over the reins to John, hopefully not in an Italian accent this time, because we're going French next, and it's this week's Ligue 1.
Right, okay, no Italian accents, I promise.
Oh, I wanted to put a French one on there.
My French is even worse. Right, anyway, so this week, Kris, let's get us underway. Really exciting game, 7 goals between Marseille and Rennes. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, Marseille, wow, what a mess. What a mess. Just an incredible game, really, really was. I mean, I don't think anybody saw this coming. France is notoriously not known for its goals, although we had 2 games with 5 goals in this weekend. Less said about that, the better, so we've already been over that. But yeah, Rennes came to town. They're doing all right, actually, Rennes. They're in pretty good form, but they were 3-0 up within the first 14 minutes. Yoann Gourcuff, Diagne and Ousmane Dembele, that man, Ousmane Dembele. We keep on talking about him, and he keeps on scoring and assisting. And they were 3 up in 15 minutes, and it's fair to say the Velodrome crowd were not particularly chuffed, to put it mildly. But there was a little bit of hope. Florian Thauvin, remember him, Newcastle fans? No, didn't think you did. Well, he's back at Marseille, and he got them back into the game on 20 minutes. Rolando then headed in from a corner on 50 minutes, 3-2. You thought, hey, game on. And 9 minutes later, Gourcuff popped up and killed the game at 4-2. So that was that. Giovanni Sio added a 77th minute fifth to crown it, and it was a mistake from Mandanda, which you don't see every day. But Marseille now 25 goals at home this season, but over 10 of those were over 2 games. So when you put that in perspective, 42 total. I mean, that's just not enough. And they've drawn 15 games in Ligue 1 this season. So that gives you a little bit of an idea as to where they are in the league. But yeah, that goals total, if you think about it, you take away those 2 games where they won 6-0 on the opening day against Troyes and 4-0. Basically, they scored 15 at home. I mean, it's terrible, really is. And as for Rennes, they've won 8 of the last 13. They've got plenty of attacking weapons, all clicking at the right time. They play without fear. They play on the counter-attack, and they're really impressing people. Whether they've got the sort of enough to make it to those Champions League places with the likes of Lyon and Monaco up there is tough to say, but over the course of the season, they've been really impressive, and their biggest issue now is trying to hang on to them and some of those stars. And just very quickly before we move on, the Marseille Ultras, they tried to invade the pitch. They had to be restrained by local police, and at the end of the game, they were throwing stones at the players as they left the ground in unmarked cars for fears of their safety. So all is not well in Marseille, and Michel, how he still has a job is beyond me.
Wow. Stones at the players. Yeah, I mean, people in this country complain about banners. Seriously. Anyway.
Very true.
That seems a little extreme, but there you go. Lyon finding a bit of form towards the end of the season, and maybe damaging any chance that Nantes have of maybe getting a spot in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. Lyon came into this game. I think I picked this as my game of the week to watch. I'm pretty sure I did, and it was an entertaining affair. But you had to wait till quite late on for the goals. It was really sort of a cagey affair. Obviously, Lyon known for having a really good record at their new stadium, Stade de Lumière or Lyon Park, whichever you prefer. But it took a surprise player to pop up with the goal, and a name by the name of Gaëtan Perrin, and no relation to the St Etienne defender, but he popped up, and with his very first touch coming on as a substitute in what is only his 3rd ever Liga appearance for Lyon. He popped up and with his very first touch headed it into the net and 1-0 to Lyon after 83 minutes. That was brilliant work from Rachid Ghazal to set up. He went on a mazy run and took the shot, pinged up off the defender, and Perrin headed in and went wild. And that man, Alexandre Lacazette, who's really starting to find his form once again, he capped it off with a very late penalty. In fact, it was the last kick of the game. The whistle went straight afterwards. And he rattled in the penalty to make it 2-0 in the 94th minute. And it's a good win for Lyon, who are, as you quite rightly say, John, slowly but surely improving. Interesting stat for you. Lyon have the highest shot ratio in Ligue 1. That's shots per goal ratio, I should say, of 15. They're actually the third highest or fouled team as well, which is an interesting stat because if you look at how they play and the tricky sort of intricate players they've got, they incur 14.3 fouls per game, which is quite a high percentage. And as for Nantes, they are 1 win in 5, so seemingly sliding a little bit from those Europa spots. I personally blame Janzeb, our listener, because since he's been supporting them, their form has been very patchy. So Janzeb, it's all down to you.
Well, that's a little bit mean, but I think there is a bit of a theme actually happening there because our favourite team from Corsica, Gazalec Ajaccio, didn't have a very good trip to Nice.
No, or not a nice trip. Does that work?
There you go. See, I set that one up for you.
You did. You almost let me have that one. No, they didn't. Fair to say that Nice are Hatem Ben Arfa powered once again, and boy does it show. They since Ben Arfa has been back, they've had 3 straight wins in the 3 games that he's been back. He's so key and so vital. But interestingly, as well, they've tightened up at the back. 3 clean sheets in the last 5 games, which is going to be key for their run. But they're right up there. They're in third place now, point clear of Lyon, 5 behind Monaco in second. But everything is clicking for Nice, and they do look very good. Granted, Gazalec are continuing to struggle. They still sit in that 3rd relegation spot at the bottom of the table, and it's going to be tough for them to stay up, even though we all love them, as we've said on the pod many times. But Nice are just starting to put that run together that makes you believe that they could do it. And as I say, Ben Arfa is key to that. As for Gazalec, though, they haven't won away in 7 now, and it's only 1 win in 12. So you have to say that they are going to need to find, even if it's a run of undefeated games, so a couple of draws and a win here and there, because this slide is a bit alarming and their goals are drying up. So we don't want to have to report on them going down. I do fear for them at the moment, though.
Need a bit of Napoleon spirit there from the Corsicans. Right, now then, last game to talk about, PSG at home to Monaco, the 2 big sides in France, one of them already the champions, and PSG, it's fair to say, are probably only waiting for a Champions League game and nothing else at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair way of putting it. I mean, they're certainly putting their eggs into the basket. They drew Manchester City, as we indeed mentioned on the Satchel last week, so their focus will naturally be there because they've won the league. But nevertheless, Laurent Blanc was particularly sort of cheesed off with this result because Monaco actually went to the Parc des Princes and won 2-0. And I know it's a lot of people's coupon buster, but I saw this coming. What I didn't see coming was the PSG lineup that they had in this game. I really thought they would start to rest a few players at least, but if you look at the lineup just very quickly, Trapp, David Luiz, Maxwell, Thiago Silva, Marquinhos, Thiago Motta, Rabiot, Di Maria, Cavani, Ibrahimovic, Lucas Moura, that's pretty much, barring Verratti and Matuidi, that's pretty much spot on first team. So whether whether they weren't quite right mentally, whether they just sort of took the foot off the gas a little bit. They had chances. I mean, they should have been a goal up early on, but the goal was wrongly chalked off for offside from Cavani. And yes, he managed to hit the target for once. And it was just a really surprising result. But goals from Wagner Love and a penalty from Fabinho gets the points for Monaco, who let's not sort of undo Monaco's achievement here. It's a huge win for them. They've only lost 1 of their last 8 at the Parc des Princes, which is a great record. And they're the 2nd highest defensive rated side in Ligue 1, only behind PSG themselves within the stats. And it's key to that second place race because their defence is so key. And as for PSG, it's their first home defeat since Rennes in May 2014. So a proud run comes to an end for PSG.
I've seen it happen to a lot of other teams. It's happened before to Bayern Munich as well in the Bundesliga. When they've won their league early, they sometimes take their foot off the gas and look elsewhere for their competition. Right, anyway, let's move on to the roundup of the rest of the games from the weekend.
Yes, I can certainly do that for you. So, Rennes and Marseille kicked off the weekends. Then we went into the Saturday games. St Etienne with a 3-0 victory over Montpellier. Goals from Nolan Roux, Osman Tonane, and Valentin Isaric. We mentioned Angers Lorient. Let's not go there again. Lille beat Toulouse, who are in all sorts of trouble still, by 1-0. Caen came from, Morgan Amalfitano. Remember him? Yeah, West Ham. He scored the winner. Caen came from behind to beat Troyes, or Danny's favourite, Troyes. Xavier put Troyes in front, but who's formerly Southampton player, and Roddy Rudderland got the winner. Ram, they lost to Guingamp at home, which I know kind of cheesed Tom off at the time because I never saw that one coming. But Younous Sankare, the ex-PSG trainee, got the winner. Bordeaux, they are still in trouble, drew at home to Bastia. They went one up late on through Contento, but Ngando, within 2 minutes, got the leveller. So that's the other results from this weekend.
Lovely. And give us the table as it stands.
Well, PSG champions, as we know, 77 points from their 31 played, so that's away in the distance finished. Monaco still lead that Champions League race, which is genuinely exciting. 55 points. Nice are just behind them on 50 points on the same games played. Lyon behind them on 49. Rennes in 5th on 48. And Cannes still can't rule them out on 46. Maybe even St Etienne on 45. And then down at the bottom, Troyes doomed 14 points. It's a matter of time. In fact, I think they can be relegated the next game, 14 points gone. Toulouse in all sorts of trouble, 26 points, and they're cut adrift from Ajaccio in the final relegation spot on 33 points. However, just above them, Ram are not safe. They also have 33 points. Montpellier 36, Guingamp 38, and Bordeaux and Lorient and Marseille technically are still looking over their shoulders on 39 points.
Right, and lastly for the news, get ready listeners, you can all laugh at Chris and his French accent as he reads out the French squad for the coming interlull.
Monsieur, le French squad. Right. So there's this bloke called Lloris in goal, right? No, goalkeepers are Lloris, Mandanda, Benoit Costil of Rennes. Defenders, we got Digne from Roma, John will know well. Also Patrice Evra, Christophe Jallet, Laurent Koscielny, Jeremy Mathieu. Chuckle. Also got Bakary Sagna, Sacco from Liverpool, and Rafa Varane of Real Madrid. Midfielders, Kabay, Lassana Diarra, N'Golo Kante, first call up for him from Leicester. Blaise Matuidi, Paul Pogba, and Moussa Sissoko of Newcastle. Forwards are Kingsley Coman, Pierre-André Gignac, Olivier Giroud, Antoine Griezmann, Antonio Martial, and Dimitri Payet, who, of course, Payet returning to the French side after a prolonged absence. That's as much French as you're getting from me. Merde.
How the hell is Mathieu in the French squad?
Fair to say they're struggling a bit defensively, I think it would be fair to say.
That accent was terrible.
Wasn't
seriously. It didn't even try till halfway through.
I did have onions around my neck and a beret on, though, so...
Oh, dear.
I'm sure you can post a photo of that in the Twitter account. It's fine.
For all our French
Racism has hit an all-time low now.
Racism.
Very good.
Come on.
On that note, I'll let you carry on hanging yourself and hand the show back over to you.
Thank you. I will hang myself on my onions. Right, well, I'm going to swap onions for bratwurst now because we're going to take a trip over to Germany. Seamless. I don't write this stuff. It's all in the moment. Genius. It's this week's Bundesliga. All right then, Drew, you have sat there patiently, beavering away on things for the future, but I shall bug you for some German news now. We're going to start with the Wolves and Wolfsburg, who played host to Darmstadt on Saturday. Would it be fair to say they got out of jail a touch here?
I think, as usual from you, Chris, that's another understatement. Getting out of jail is I don't know. That's probably the best way to describe it. They were even match against Darmstadt, who were visiting. And it was Sandro Wagner opened the scoring on 82 minutes, but Andre Schürrle scored in stoppage time to rescue a point for Dieter Hecking's men. And even in matches throughout, honestly, Darmstadt, as we've seen all season long, have set up very compact at the back, looking to counterattack, and they created a fair amount of chances. But again, this is we've seen from Wolfsburg before that they're just not getting the results that they need to get in the position that they find themselves now. This is one of those where they needed the 3 points. They're now sitting 8th, and they've only won 2 out of their last 6 matches total. So it's not looking good at the moment. But I'm out of things to say about them at this point in time. To be honest, I don't know what more I can say about Wolfsburg. I know we're going to mention about overachieving and underachieving teams later, and I was going to do an overachieving team. But if I had to say, I think Wolfsburg is a massive disappointment for a lot of people this season. Again, I've highlighted before that without Kevin De Bruyne in the team, they're just not the same. And also, once again, they're without Draxler for this match. So he didn't even feature on the bench. So I don't know, struggling throughout, but it's a good point for Dirk Schuster's men, and they're looking like they might actually stave off relegation. So disappointing from Wolfsburg, out of answers for them now. I don't think they're even going to make Europe this year.
No, unless of course they win the Champions League, which would be in the season of crazy stuff. That would be properly bat poo crazy. I censored that very nicely there. Right, let's move on to a side that could be described as that. Indeed, Hamburg. They played at home to Hoffenheim, who I think it's fair to say the Nagelsmann influence is starting to kick in.
It is. They went to Hamburg and came away 3-1 winners on the road. That's a very, very good result. I know Hamburg have been struggling lately. They've lost 3 of their last 4 and only won 1 of their previous 6 matches. But you would still expect maybe a better performance from the home side. But no, Nagelsmann's done it quite well. He's won now 4. Hoffenheim has won 4 of their last 6. They've actually won 2 on the spin now. And Andre Kramaric, our friend who was at Leicester previously, opened the scoring on 20 minutes. Kevin Volland added the second on 23 minutes. Andrew Hunt actually got one back on 30, but Eduardo Vargas, another former Premier League player, scored on 67 minutes, and that was all they really needed. Back to front, Hoffenheim played incredibly well. Baumann had another good showing again for the second week in a row for them. But they're really clicking in attack now. Kramaric has shown that he can play center forward for them well, and they've actually shifted Volland away from playing center forward, and he's now pushed out on the left, given how good his left foot is. And Sebastian Ruddy performed very, very well. He earned himself a call up to the national team from a couple of performances that he's been showing under Nagelsmann. So everyone in the 11 has been more consistent now under Nagelsmann, and that's what all they needed. Because as I stated multiple times before, earlier on in the season, that they have the players to perform. They needed the consistency and that little bit of belief in a lot of the players. Kevin Volland has come out before and said that all the players now that they feel that the right leadership from their manager, and they all believe in themselves, and it's showing, and it's an excellent result.
Yeah, I'd like to see them stay up just because I'm really intrigued to see what he does next season. So, yeah, here's fingers crossed to that. Now, speaking of sides that are struggling to stay up, that brings us to Werder Bremen. Just bizarre even to see them down where they are, but they are still down there, and a draw at home to Mainz isn't going to help.
No, but Mainz will also be disappointed as well. This was a very even match, so, I mean, the draw is the fair result, but on the strength of form, you would expect Martin Schmidt to be a little more disappointed that he didn't take all 3 points despite being on the road. But we've seen before that Werder Bremen played a little bit better this match. For this season so far, they're really struggling at the back. That's their main weakness. They could probably score a little bit more. You could say that for a lot of other teams, but they've leaked, I think, the most goals in the Bundesliga this season. They're tied with Stuttgart for the worst defensive record. And when you're only scoring, I think they've only scored 36 goals, but they're leaking 54. If you do the math, that's what the problem is. So it was better from them. Claudio Pizarro scored again. He actually scored in stoppage time in the first half before Julian Baumgartlinger opened the scoring on 38 minutes for Mainz. But that if they're not getting goals from their center forward, they're not getting goals at all. And then even though they played well at the back this game, they're having issues at goalkeeper, and they're really having issues at the back, and just being, keeping their shape tactically, and then putting in consistent performances. It's what they're lacking. So maybe you could say this might be something they could potentially build on, because this is a good result against a Mainz team who are motivated by trying to get into Europa League. But draws won't do for them if they keep up these kind of performances, and a side like Hoffenheim is playing how they're playing, they might find themselves in proper relegation. So we'll see.
Yeah, so without Claudio Pizarro, I mean, God knows where they'd be, which is kind of a statement in itself. Without the 37, 38-year-old Pizarro, it's scary, absolutely scary.
Yeah, but he does have 12 goals. He's 7th in the league, even though at his age, he's still finding the goal somehow.
Yeah, I suppose you never lose it. I mean, look at Luca Toni. If you're in the right position, you just never lose it. And, of course, the boy at Bilbao, who's now Adariz.
And Ibrahimovic.
Yeah,
Ibrahimovic,
absolutely, yeah. Covered them all. Try and find an English one, but I'm struggling because it sucks. Anywho, let's Jermaine Defoe. There you go. Let's move on to our final game, which is Stuttgart, who have of late, they had this charge up the table and things were looking fantastic. Then all of a sudden of late, they kind of reverted to type a little bit. However, you could say the same about Leverkusen until this weekend, and indeed this fixture.
Well, I think, to be blunt, Stuttgart have fallen off a cliff. They've only won 1 of their last 6, and the other 5 matches have been 3 losses and 2 draws. So definitely a bit of a high and low from them. They're still 5 points clear of relegation right now, but honestly, if you looked at it, Leverkusen did hit a little bit of decent form lately. They got that 3-3 draw against Augsburg 2 weeks ago. Then they just beat Hamburg in a 1-0 win last weekend. So they built on that with a good result away from home. And that's what you would look at from them. That they're one of those sides that have been a little bit disappointing this season. They're in a fight with Schalke and Gladbach and Mainz for a place between 4th and 6th, maybe even 3rd. But with the talent that they have, you expect more. But it was a good performance, especially from Julian Brand and Karim Bellarabi, 2 players who have been up and down this season. Bellarabi's improved his form. He got a goal and assist this match, and Brand the same. And Bellarabi also earned a call up to the national team for the friendlies coming up. But Leverkusen have struggled from their wide players this season. That's been one of their biggest weaknesses. Chicharito's been great, and Kiesling's been great through the middle, but they've really struggled to get goals and creativity from their wide players. So performance like this from Brandt and Bellarabi is exactly what Roger Schmidt's going to want to see. But on the whole, it was a very, very good performance of them. Brad Leno played very, very well. They've been improving at the back, match on match, and players like Jonathan Tah and Hendricks and Ramallah, they all have settled nicely as a group. So if they can keep this kind of form up, then they might give the aforementioned Hertha, Schalke, and Gladbach a run for those important European places. But definitely they might be on the up and up after this. We'll just keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, you've got to wonder if that going out of the Europa League has maybe sharpened their focus to get back into the league through the league standings. So yeah, we shall see. Okay, what about the other results from this weekend then?
All right. Well, as John mentioned, Gladbach, I hate to bring it up again, but Gladbach traveled and got a tough loss against Schalke 2-1. Cologne hosted Bayern Munich and only lost 1-0, so a decent performance from them. Wolfsburg, as I mentioned, drew. Did I mention Wolfsburg? Yeah, they drew 1-1. Eintracht Frankfurt won 1-0 at home against Hanover, and Augsburg hosted Borussia Dortmund and expectantly lost 3-1. So there you go.
Super. And where does that leave us on the table?
Sure. Bayern still top, 69 from 27. Dortmund second on 64. Hertha third on 48. Schalke fourth on 44. Gladbach and Leverkusen tied for fifth on 42. Mainz seventh on 41. Hoffenheim sits 16th now on 27. Eintracht Frankfurt 17 on 27. And Hanover bottom of the table on 17. And as I said before, they're absolutely going down. So
yes, can't score goals, can't defend. It's not usually a good combination.
Oh, forgot to mention Hertha 1-2-1 at home against Ingolstadt. There you go.
Yes, thank you. Don't forget Hertha. We'll touch on them later on in a question, I'm sure. So, before we leave Germany, same question as I did to the other guys, in your very best German accent, give us the German national squad that are going to play the next couple of friendlies.
Sure. Goalkeepers are Manuel Neuer, Bert Leno, Marc-Andre ter Stegen, and Kevin Trapp. Defenders are Shkodran Mustafi, Jonas Hector, Sebastian Rudi, Mats Hummels, Emre Can, Matthias Ginter, Antonio Rüdiger, and Jonathan Tah. Midfielders are Sammy Khedira, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Mesut Ozil, André Schürrle, Lucas Podolski, Marco Reus, Thomas Muller, Toni Kroos, Christoph Kramer, Julian Draxler, and Karim Bellarabi. And forwards was Max Cruz, but he got dropped from the team after being a complete fool off the pitch. Mario Götze somehow made the team. Mario Gomez and Kevin Volland.
That's my computer saying thank you in German. So, I tell you, the wonderful things you can do on a cheap, pooey PC. Love it. Right. Okay, Drew, thank you very much. So that is indeed the roundups from our respective leagues for the week. So we're going to take another trip into another league and see what's going on somewhere else in Europe. And it's this week's Best of the Rest. Okay, this week I've selected to go back to Portugal. I know we've been to Portugal before. However, I thought we would have a little trip back because I watched a couple of the key games this weekend and it was another important weekend of action. So we started off with Sporting Club de Portugal, Sporting Lisbon, whichever you prefer. They opened up the three-way chase for the title with a win on Saturday night with a 5-1 victory over Arouca. Telo Gutierrez scoring 2, as did João Mario, and Brian Ruiz, who Fulham fans probably won't remember in fairness, but he did score a beauty in this game. Gigi got one back for Arouca, but it was obviously not enough as they were 5-0 down at the time. So that pretty much then put the pressure on Porto, who were the evening game. They got a 1-0 victory over Vitória Setúbal away from home. Sergio Oliveira scoring for the Dragons, so that was pretty key to them. So all of that piled on the pressure to Benfica, who were the sort of tea time evening game on the Sunday. And this is a game I watched a full 90 minutes, and it looked for a long, long time like Boa Vista, who, by the way, started the game in 16th place, just 1 point above the bottom 2 relegation spots. It looked like they were going to hold out for a draw. They put 10 men behind the ball, they battled, they worked, they chipped away, and then in the 93rd minute, Jonas, who's been banging form for Benfica this season, found himself a fraction of space and volleyed home from the edge of the 6-yard box. So, very late winner for Benfica. It sparked some pretty ugly scenes from the Boa Vista fans who threw bits and bobs onto the pitch. But nevertheless, Benfica saw out the game and got the vital victory. So that is the top 3. They all won the standings. Benfica are top, 67 points. Sporting Club Portugal, or Sporting Lisbon again, whichever you prefer, are second on 65. Porto a little way back on 61, but still not out of it. And then, as you'd probably predict, Sporting Braga are the best of the rest on 4th place on 50 points. And interestingly, Arouca are 41 points in 5th, potentially qualifying for the Europa League at the moment. They are 2 points clear of Rio Ave, so they could get in for first time in a while. Down the bottom, Tondela are gone, 18th, bottom 14 points. They are the Troyes or Verona of Portugal. And Academica also take up a relegation spot on 23 points, but Boa Vista, União Mineira, and probably Setúbal and Moreirense aren't safe yet. So that's Portugal. So keep an eye. It's one of the most competitive leagues in Europe, and it really is fun to watch. I must admit, it's been really, really gripping stuff with a 3-way title race this season. So that's our little trip around Europe done for another week. So we'll move on, and it's this week's Hipsters Choice. And this week, as I promised to Tom, we're going to go back to sunny Spain, and we're going to look at a player who has exploded onto the scene this season with his club side Bilbao. It's Sabin Merino. So, before I come to Tom, let's find out what we know about Sabin Merino, or Sabin, whichever you prefer. Well, his full name is Sabin Moreno Zualaga. He was born on January the 4th, 1992, making him 24 years of age, sickening. Spanish by nationality, and he's 6'2", weighing 176 pounds approximately. He wears the number 25 shirt and is a forward with a right-footed preference, and he wears the Nike Mercurial Superfly boots. He doesn't have a Twitter or an Instagram that we could find, so you can't stalk him, sadly. And what do we know about him? Well, he was born in Udaliz in Spain, which is in the Basque Country. Sabin Moreno is the latest product from the famous Athletic Club youth system to make the headlines, after scoring 18 goals in Athletic's reserve side in 2014-15 and helping them earn promotion to the Segunda Division. He was chosen for the senior team ahead of the 15-16 season. He made his official debut for the first team on August 6, 2015, coming on as a second half sub for Javier Araso in a 0-0 draw away at Inter Baku Peak for the campaign of the UEFA Europa League. He scored his first professional goal on the 20th of August, netting in the 3-2 victory over MSK Zelina. And in his first La Liga goal was on September the 23rd in a 2-1 defeat against Real Madrid. Not a bad way to get your first goal, even if it is in defeat. He's made 21 appearances in La Liga this season with 5 goals, 1 domestic cup appearance, and 11 Europa League appearances, including 2 goals, one of which was against Marseille, you might recall.
You love that one.
Yeah, sadly. On March the 13th, the manager of Athletic Bilbao, Ernesto Valverde, decided to rest his top scorer, Darius, and Sabin started as the lone striker in a 4-2-3-1 system. He sometimes does play behind the striker or left or right wing. He scored 2 goals against Real Betis, which is, I think I put a tweet out from our account the other day showing those 2 goals. That took his season 2 tally of 5, and is the 3rd highest scorer in the team behind Adariz and Iñaki Williams. Of Sabin, Valverde has said, he has something that draws him close to goal. You're always in with a chance of scoring if you're like that. And on February 25th, 2016, Sabin scored the crucial Europa League goal in the 87th minute against Marseille, as we mentioned, which propelled Athletic Bilbao through to the last 16. So that is what we know about him. Thank you to Kelly for putting together those notes for us as usual. I'll turn it straight over to Tom then. So Tom, give us your thoughts. What sort of player is he? What can we expect? And what do you make of him overall?
I really like this guy. He's been quite lucky that he's had the shadowing of Iñaki Williams' performances. The fact that he's been so good this season has allowed Sabin to sort of flourish. If you want a comparison with sort of how Iwobi's sort of flourishing now, with Rashford at Man United taking a lot of the glory for the youngsters. And Sabin is certainly a player like Iwobi, a taller sort of guy who can run with the ball quite well at his feet. And he's someone who's really good in the air as well. He came onto my radar when he scored against Eibar. I think it was a header from a corner, and he certainly impressed me in that game. And he hasn't really looked back from that point. It's quite a shame, just linking it a bit to their Bilbao second squad, who I think they're still currently bottom of the second division, and they've been really quite awful. But the system's so good in the youth setup with the likes of Sabin and Iñaki coming through. They often get promoted to the main squad really early on. I mean, you look at Laporte as well. And Araso, who scored at the weekend against Espanyol, they lose those players, and the second side sort of suffers. There's a bit of fluctuating form, but yes, Sabin's definitely someone to look out for in the future. I don't think he'll be moving anytime soon, so he'll have plenty of time to develop at Bilbao. But if he does move, you can be guaranteed he'll be for a big price, because Bilbao don't let him go easy.
No, they really don't. And could you see him potentially taking on the mantle of Adariz, for example, he's not getting any younger, however good he is? Do you think he's the long-term successor in that position?
No, I think he's more the support sort of guy on the left-hand side or behind the main striker. Iñaki Williams is more likely to take the striker role, but in my opinion, they'll probably bring in someone for that striker position when Adariz finally does go. I hope he still has a few more years in him.
Absolutely. We will keep across him. Thank you, Tom. As usual, you can indeed have a look at all of our Hipsters Choices if you go to our website, click along the top tab to Hipsters Choice, and you'll find all of the ones we've done in previous episodes, and indeed the timestamps from the podcast, so you can actually look at and listen back to any of the previous ones we've done. and see how their careers are progressing. I think overall we got a pretty good record of picking players that are doing something, barring Serge Aurier, which we don't mention him, do we, boys and girls? But next week I can announce that we will be doing Riyad Mahrez. Not literally, that would be illegal, but we will be giving Riyad Mahrez the Hipsters Choice spotlight. And as usual, if you have any questions about any of our Hipsters Choices, just drop us a line. So we'll draw a line there. Let's move on again to another regular segment, and it's this week's Team of the Week. Okay then, what have we got for Team of the Week this week? Well, before I read the lineup, as usual, I will tell you what formation we're in. And this week it's kind of a 4-5-1 or a 4-1-2-2-1 if you prefer. Yeah, whichever you prefer. That's how it looks. So let's dig in to the players who have made the team this week. So we are going to start off in goal, predictably, and it is Guillermo Ochoa. Tough one this week because, as Tom pointed out in his roundup, there was a good performance from Keylor Navas as well, but I thought Ochoa just made a couple of very good saves, and seeing as he's come into the side recently for the injured, I believe, Khomeini pulled off a couple of crackers, so he makes it in for Malaga. The centre-back pairing is Wes Morgan of Leicester City, becoming so key to Leicester's title push, strong and a leader at the back. He's joined by Tim Closer. Similar story. He's since signing from Wolfsburg to Norwich, he settled very well all of a sudden, and he was brilliant in their 1-0 victory over West Brom. Hugo Mayo, the Celta Vigo right back, scored a brilliant goal versus Valencia, as Tom was touching on earlier on, cutting in and drilling it high into the net over the stranded goalkeeper. And although it was probably goalkeeper here, it's still a lovely goal. Speaking of lovely goals, Diego Contento, the left back from Bordeaux, I've put him in on the strength of his goal alone, to be honest. A magnificent 35-yard volley which bounced its way into the far corner. Terrific strike from the defender. Our holding midfielder is Romain Saiss of Angers. Scored the third, but totally dominated Lorient's midfield pretty much single-handedly, so sadly he gets in. Once again, Danny's favourite, Billy Keo Umfomfone of Angers, unplayable basically, scored and won a penalty. It was a constant threat and a real menace to Lorient the whole game, and his pace was a real source of issue for Les Merlots in that match. On the opposite side, Julian Brandt, who Drew of course mentioned a little earlier. Superb performance for Leverkusen on that left-hand side of midfield, just getting in ahead of Khalid Bellarabi, so I've gone with Brandt this week. Hatem Ben Arfa takes up one of the attacking midfield positions for Nice, scored the first, set up the second. He's absolutely vital to Nice in his return to fitness. He's joined by Paul Pogba of Juventus, a 10 out of 10 really against Torino. Magnificent performance, really showed what he is capable of when he really wants to turn it on. Scored a brilliant free kick and just completely dominated Torino's midfield, so he makes it in, as does Ross will be happy, Graziano Pella. Sadio Mane will probably grab the highlights and the headlines for the goals, but Pella was crucial. He scored the second and set both of Mane's goals up and helped to turn around a 2-0 deficit for a 3-2 win over Liverpool. As far as our bench, Mapu Yanga Mbiwa of Lyon, he's very much under the radar. He's been pretty poor all season, it has to be said, but defensively superb versus Nantes. Ignacio Camacho of Malaga scored the late-headed winner, as Tom touched on earlier, and controlled the midfield. Orellana from Celta Vigo, I put him in just for that delicious assist for Guidetti's opener in that match at Valencia. Genki Haraguchi of Hertha Berlin scored the first, set up Kalu's second versus Ingolstadt. Alessandro Diamanti, who looks a lot like Marv from Home Alone, I've decided, for Atalanta. John will like that one. Best performance in months, set up Gomez and scored the second himself. Gonzalo Higuain just keeps scoring goals. He dragged Napoli to the 3 points after being 1-0 down at home to Genoa. His goals will be crucial if Napoli are to wrestle the title away from Juve. And finally, Karim Benzema. Fair to say he's not had the best of weeks again, but scored the first delicious goal and set up the third, and top performance given his recent issues. So there we go. That's this week's Team of the Week. Again, as I always say, if you've got any issues with any of those or any you want to ask us about, just ping us a tweet. Right then, so moving on then, as we close off our show, as we always do, we'll take your questions answered, and it's this week's Onion Bag. Righty-ho then, I've got loads of questions this week, boys and girls, so As usual, I'm going to come to you individually. Keep your answers short and punchy, and let's get through as many of these questions as we can. Tom, I'm going to start with you. At Checkaholic, our regular listener, is La Liga in some way underrated where gems are discovered, like Saul Niguez and Jose Maria Jimenez?
So in terms of discovery of players, I don't think it's underrated. I think a lot of players come out of Spain as youngsters and go on to do well. You look at Thiago at Bayern Munich as an example. But I think that the good thing about Spain and the youngsters in the squads is often they do like to stay within Spain. I mean, you look at Barca's youth players like Denis Suarez, who's now at Villarreal, and Halilovic, who's on loan at Sporting Gijón. I think, and as you've mentioned, Saul and Jimenez at Atletico Madrid have stayed there. It's a good thing that they get chances in the big clubs because obviously there is a dominance of Real Madrid and Atleti and Barcelona, as we know, and so when they play against some of the smaller teams, they can play those players because they can afford to. So I don't think this is necessarily an underration. Is that the right word? I don't think it is. There's not an underratedness. That's still not a word. I'm going to try again. They're not.
Here, bud.
It's not underrated in terms of youth players. There we go. That'll work. In my opinion, I think that there's plenty out there, and I think they get plenty of press anyway. Is Kris there?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I was just see. As I was talking to myself, I was listening to you trying to put your teeth back in.
I was scared.
Sorry, I just like to keep you on your toes. Right, let's pick out one for Drew. Lots of Bundesliga questions this week. New listener, I think, Mark, who's got an image of, I think it's Chekuate in his West Ham player in his profile picture there. He's at the Irons Eye. I've put the teeth back in myself. Jesus. Anyway, Drew, he wants to know, looking at Mainz's remaining fixtures, how high can they realistically finish?
Lord. Well, honestly, for me, I honestly think that before, it was about a month or two ago, I said that I would expect them to fight for Europa League. But if you look at the fixtures, their only really tough match would probably be the final fixture, and that's against Hertha. They have a home match against Augsburg, Cologne, and Hamburg. So honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they finished, somewhere like fifth or sixth. It depends. A lot of it depends on if clubs like Schalke and Gladbach and Leverkusen find their own form. So they'll need some help, but I could see them actually finishing in the Europa League spot. So they have it in them.
Interesting. Thank you very much for the question, Mark. I believe he's got another one in a moment. So thank you. And happy to have you aboard, Mark, if you're a first-time listener. Let's go on to John next. John, our good friend, Pigman J. Hamkenstein, a nod of the snout to you, sir. Where are Juve most likely to slip up if Napoli have a chance at clinching the Scudetto? Good question, that.
So you mean in terms of a game or the squad, or?
I'd say a game. Like, is there a fixture you could look at and go, that one could be a bit tough?
I really don't think there's a fixture they'll look at that they don't think they can't win. I think in terms the one thing that could cost them is if they got. It's really difficult to say because you look at the defence and say, okay, well, if they miss some defenders, then that could cost them. But then you've got the fact that they've got Gigi Buffon in goal, so that helps them out there. It's possibly the one weakness is possibly their goals department. If Dybala was out for a while and he pulled out injured, but it looks like it'll only be a few weeks. He should be back after the international break. But if they got any injuries to Dybala and Morata at the same time, they might suffer a little bit. Zatzo's actually, for as much as I don't particularly rate him, he actually has done very well when he's come in. So I mean that is the only area. I just think their team is that good. So yeah, it would honestly just come down to injuries. I think more than one fixture.
Interesting. Good question, that, though. Very, very good. Right, back to Drew, and this one comes from Algerian Alchemist. Picture of From Mr. Mares there. Good stuff. He wants to know. He says, enough about Aubameyang. Why doesn't Mkhitaryan get enough praise? Very overlooked, in my opinion. I know you're going to go for gold on this one, sir.
I don't think he's overlooked at all. I think there's a lot of praise coming from a lot of people. And honestly, a lot of people think he should be the player of the year in the Bundesliga this season. He doesn't have the goals that other people have. How Rafael has, 13 goals, 10 assists this season. But Mkhitaryan, truthfully, is the reason why Dortmund are ticking the way they are moving forward. He's been brilliant. So for me, he couldn't deserve enough praise. And I think, Aubameyang's been scoring the goals. But if Mkhitaryan isn't there, Aubameyang isn't scoring 22 goals right now this season. So he deserves a ton of praise.
Absolutely well answered. Back to Tom. This one is from Jordan Chappell, or Jordan Chappell, or however he'd like to be addressed. He's at Jordan Chappell 4. Should Arsenal activate Laporte's €50 million release clause?
I think you and me can both go for go on this one.
Yeah, you knew we'd get this one eventually.
I've been critical of him in the past, and that's only because he's got such a high potential and such the prices that are being mooted are so insane for the guy's ages that I still think he needs to be more consistent and more disciplined because he gets too many red cards. But I don't think that Arsenal will be the team that gets him. But if there was a chance we could, I'd do it all day long because I think he's definitely got the potential to go on and be a world-class centre-back. So if you're saying should we, yes we should, but I don't think that we'll be the club that does it.
No, and looking at last night's game, even Rafa Varane has moments of madness despite his high price. And
he's gone quite downhill since the hype. Rafa Varane, yeah.
Agreed. Speaking of hype, one for me here. Now, this question has been asked kind of in a roundabout way by 3 different people, so I'll give them all a nod. So, Dan, friend of the pod there, Dan at Dan_AFC90, also Foyez Ahmed, and also Frumosa de la Rosa, great name that is. They all want to know about Ousmane Dembele. Dan wants to know about the Dembele situation. Foyez says, how good is he? And Furman and de la Rosa are similar to Dan. What do you make of the rumours about Bayern Munich agreeing a fee for Dembele? Well, I'll answer that all in one go. He is the real deal. I genuinely think he's probably the most exciting prospect to come out of France since, some would say arguably Kingsley Coman, who's banging form right now, but I would actually go back as far as Nicolas Anelka. If you look at the way he plays, the directness, the speed, sort of that ability to change positions in the style that he runs and change direction in the runs he makes, and his vision is superb. He's been scouted by all the big boys, as we know. So to answer the second part of the question, what do I make of the situation, or indeed the links with Bayern? I can definitely see it. Dare I say it, I think he's more of a Guardiola type of player. And I think if Guardiola can't take Coman with him, which seems unlikely because he's very settled in Germany, I would suggest that going after Dembele at Manchester City could be the injection of pace that Guardiola would love to work with. And I think he bears very similar links to Coman. So I would say Man City is more likely a destination than Bayern, and if he wasn't going to stay in, or if he was going to leave France and not stay in sort of a Premier League or Bundesliga club, Barcelona would be the obvious fit for the future. So keep an eye on him, but yes, he really is that good. Let's go back to Drew and then to John. Drew, this one's from Jimmy, our good friend, at NN_Guna. Leverkusen's mid-table form a result of many injuries they've suffered to key players, or is it just their talent level?
I'm going to say neither. I'm going to say it's just they've been inconsistent from the players they really need. Like I mentioned before, Çalhanoğlu, Bellarabi, Julian Brandt, these are all players who on their day are absolutely fantastic. But if you look at what they've actually done throughout the season, it's not been good enough. And also there's a really heavy reliance on Chicharito to score the goals. I know that he's got a really good partnership with Stefan Kiesling, but even Kiesling only has 4 goals in 23 appearances. So I think for me, it's just injuries happen. Us as Arsenal fans know, but that's only so much of an excuse because they do actually have quite a few good players on their team, especially attacking players. So for me, I just think it's been inconsistent performances and not enough final product from a lot of key players that they have. So if that improves as I expect it to for the rest of the season, I think they'll be okay and they'll still finish in the European place.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Like it. Okay. John, this one is from Michael Filetti, who I've got to imagine has got Italian blood somewhere in with that sort of name. He says just 6 points behind 13th and 19th in Serie A. Who do you think will get relegated?
Oh, well, Verona.
Think that one's a goner. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is the really hard bit. I don't want to say Palermo, but I really do think they'll go just because Zamparini has caused such a mess there, and I know he does tend to do that. On current form, right, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say Verona definitely, Palermo, and then I'm going to say one of Udinese or Sampdoria. I actually think Frosinone and Carpi are in good enough form to get themselves out of it.
Oh, controversial.
I'm gonna go against the tide, but if I had to really pick one, I'd say Udinese.
Yes, I'm with you. Actually, I think Udinese are in trouble. Okay, a couple more. Right, Tom, Drew, set your challenge here. Quick fire answers to these. Firstly, Drew, I'll start with you. Notorious JED, Real Josh Dorr, Charles Arangis. How's he getting on at Leverkusen? Has he recovered from his injury yet?
He's not really getting on Leverkusen, so I think honestly, if they had him, that might make a little bit of a difference, to be honest. But yeah, he's not getting on. So there's your answer.
Yeah, that's as quick fire as it gets. I like it. Tom, Frank McClintock at Cashod. What do you think of Guidetti at Celta Vigo?
He's really frustrating as a striker because obviously he's been at Celtic, he's been at Feyenoord, as Drew knows, and he's from City, and he's some places like Feyenoord he's really hit form, and some places he's struggled. Celta, he gets the easiest goals, and it's like you still can't tell if he is still a big talent to burst out. I think he's got the potential to turn good, but I don't think he'll ever be one of those hot strikers in world football.
Fair enough. One from our researcher, Kelly, Drew. Me and John are going to let out a big sigh because she simply wants to know, should Julian Weigl have been called up to the Germany squad?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I think
not why she's asking.
I think Kelly wants him in for very different reasons other than his football.
Probably. But if you look at it, I know I mentioned it before, but if you look at it, their midfielders they're all very attacking minded, bar Sami Khedira, and I have no idea why Bastian Schweinsteiger's in there. I know Joachim Low likes the core players he's established under him, but honestly, I think Schweinsteiger's on the outs. And when you're looking at the friendlies coming up and the Euros around the corner, you want to look at younger players who might not only feature in the Euros, but could feature in the next World Cup. This would be a really good time to blood him in. So I'm actually kind of surprised he's not in it. But yeah.
Yeah. And sticking with you, final Bundesliga question. Do you think Mario Götze leaves Bayern Munich this summer? And if he does, what team do you see him going to? And that's from Alexei Otonen, who's at Skirfkin.
For everything that I've seen or read and whatnot, it's going to be. It depends on Ancelotti, honestly. I can see him working out very well in an Ancelotti team. Tom might disagree with me, or he might even agree, but Ancelotti likes to play variations of a 4-3-3 that would suit Götze quite well because he played with Klopp at Dortmund. So if Ancelotti has plans for him, I think he'll stay. If Ancelotti doesn't, he's going to leave, I think. And I know there's a lot of links with him going to Liverpool with Klopp, but honestly, I know he loves Klopp, but I think Götze is the kind of player that's going to want like European competition to play in, so I don't actually know if he would go to Liverpool. I will say, though, I would take him in Arsenal and a millisecond. So.
And a certain Arsene Wenger has always said he loves him as a player, so keep an eye on that space. Another one, last one for Tom, another quick answer for you, Tom. This is from Martin Morgan at Welsh Gooner 95. Thoughts on Irala Mendy and why it didn't work at Real?
He wasn't good enough.
That's as quick fire as it gets. I like that. Who is he good enough for then? One word answer. If it's not Sociedad.
Real Sociedad he'll be the standout player for them. I think he could be good at like Bilbao, but I'm not sure if he's Basque, so I don't think he'd be able to play for them. But he's good with the ball. He got a lot of overhype in one season, and they paid like over 30 million euros for him, which is massively overpriced. And he couldn't cut it at the highest level. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that second tier sort of area.
Fair enough. Right, I'll do two quick fire ones from me, and then we've got two more and we're done. So, Tony Adolfsson at Lotuzio. think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, what is going on with Marseille? Last league win, February the 2nd. Something is seriously wrong. Can you, Chris, expand on it? I can, Tony, in a very quick way. I've probably covered it a lot in our roundup with the game against Rennes. Marseille, from top to bottom, are a mess. The owner, the lady, whose name escapes me actually, she wants to sell desperately. The president, the manager Michel, is a joke, an absolute joke. Tom can probably back me up on this. He's not been particularly successful wherever he's gone, as far as his attitude goes, at the very least. And simply put, Marseille don't have many good players. They have quite a few good players, what they did have, and then they sold them. And the latest group of their good players, namely the goalkeeper Mandanda and Michy Batshuayi, will be leaving in the summer. So the fact that you go back to Newcastle to re-sign the player that you sold in Florian Thauvin speaks volumes. So Marseille are a mess, and until they change manager and until they change owner, I can only see it getting worse. So thank you for the question, Tony. Good one. Jimmy R, again, he's back. Now, the reason I'm going to answer this is because as I look around the room at you guys who are not in the same room as me, I'm pretty sure none of you watch Scottish football. So I will take the can on this one. Jimmy says, to do the Scottish Championship, how will a return to the SPL affect the top flight when the old firm dominate, or will the likes of Aberdeen and Hearts keep it competitive? And that's obviously with regards to Rangers returning. Jimmy, in my humble opinion, Rangers are quite a way off Celtic. However, Celtic themselves have dropped off this season. I don't think the Ronnie Dyler experiment has worked at all. I don't think he's particularly well liked from Celtic fans. I know one personally, and he's not a fan. I won't repeat what he calls him in Scottish. And I just don't think Celtic have got particularly brilliant players. But that being said, I don't think Rangers have got a very good squad either. I think they'll find it very tough in the top level. And we will get a preview of this because I'm pretty sure the Old Firm have drawn each other in the Scottish Cup. So we will get an idea.
That is the Cup draw, Old Firm derby.
There you go. So we'll get a good idea. But I think the last time they met, I believe Celtic smashed Rangers. I think it was 3 or 4, maybe 5-1. So, yeah, it'll be tough for Rangers. But they do have a pretty decent manager, I think, in the ex-Brentford guy who was a banker turned football manager, whose name escapes me. John, help me out. What's the guy's name at Rangers?
I'm completely lost. I do know that Mr. David Moyes, is the talk of the town as possibly the new Celtic manager, or to be taking over. That's the job he wants, apparently.
I think that would work as well, weirdly. I think he's an ex-Celtic player, isn't he? From
I can't remember. I know he did play in Scotland. I can't remember who he played for.
Pretty sure he played for Celtic. And Mark Warburton is, of course, the manager of Rangers. So there we go.
Should have said bread. I would have been there straight away.
Should have, he should know. Right, last two questions then. Josh Dorr comes back with another one. Which player from your region are you most looking forward to see play for their nation next week? He says the more hipster, the better. One-word answer. John, Italy, who?
Oh, God. What?
Just say Bernardeschi and be done with it.
Well, I don't want to say that because that's not how you pronounce his name, so I'll say
I knew he was
Bernardeschi.
going to say that.
Sorry, Mina. Carry on.
Yeah, Bernardeschi, yeah.
After all that, brilliant.
Yeah.
Drew, Germany, who?
I'm sorry, what's the question? You're gonna
the player you're most looking forward to representing Germany in the current squad next week. So most hipster player, or more hipster the better.
Lord, honestly, I want to see how Kevin Volland gets on. So yeah,
I like that one. Tom, Spain.
I think it has to be Adariz finally getting his chance in the Spain squad.
Good. And I am going to buck the trend. I'm not going to say Dimitri Payet as much as I'd like to. I'm looking forward to seeing if N'Golo Kante gets a run. Because I think
You won't get to see Dimitri Payet, will you? Because he won't play.
Well, that is also very true. Yeah, very true. But I'm really excited by the idea of Kante and Matuidi in a midfield. I think that's
God, that's tasty. Good,
isn't it? Just I'm looking forward to that. So we shall see. Right, our final question. Loads of questions this week, guys. Thank you so much. It's just so hard to get to them all, but thank you. Final question. It's a goodie from Mark, our West Ham fan again. Another cracking question, Mark. He says, "Can you name an underachieving club in your respective leagues?" So what we've done, Mark, is myself and Tom have picked underachievers and Drew and John have picked overachievers. So let's start with the dirge and work our way up. Tom, who have you gone for in Spain?
I think if anyone can't guess who I've gone for, then they haven't been watching enough football. Underachievers, clearly in Spain, is Valencia this season have just been absolutely awful. Started off with Nuno as manager, sacked him, brought in a manager who's had no managerial experience in a league he knows nothing about, and inevitably has failed dismally.
It's working out well. I'll keep the theme negative, and I'll say in Ligue 1, again, probably quite predictable. It's our good friends Marseille. We just touched on him. I've pretty much gone through all the reasons as to why they're a mess from top to bottom. I can't see it improving. And for a team that finished, I believe, second last season or third, look at the mess they're in now. Wow, what a fall from grace. John, let's take it positive. An overachiever in Italy this season?
It's got to be Sassuolo, from having the greatest song in football ever, quite possibly. Just a really well-run club, from the owner, Giorgio Squinzi, to the chairman, Carlo Rossi, the manager, Eusebio Di Francesco. They've always spotted the right talent in terms of players as well, from taking old heads like Antonio Flores and young players like Berardi. They've had good managers in the past, in the names of Allegri now, who's the talk of Europe. Stefan Pioli was also there as well before they got into Serie A. So it's a brilliantly run club, and helped a little bit by their partnership that they have with Juve in doing some of their deals, but just perfectly run.
Superb. And finally, Drew, a team that's overachieved in Germany?
Oh, it's got to be Hertha Berlin. They seem to find the formula. I know they rely on a couple of players to get their goals, and they don't score very often, but they play excellently as a group, and you would say that's kind of like a Leicester, if you will. They're well drilled. They're very good at the back. They defend as a group very well, and the right players pop up at the right times. Even when they struggle, they still somehow can grind out results. And for a team that shouldn't be anywhere near the top three, the fact that they are top three, given the teams below them, it's a big achievement. So hopefully, with a stadium like they have, I think that they deserve a shot in Champions League. So yeah.
I'll add to that and say their fans deserve it because they're brilliant.
Absolutely. Hertha Berlin fans are fantastic. That's a very good shout, Tom.
There you go.
I, in fact, know two from the UK with season tickets who fly out every weekend to go and watch Hertha.
Even better.
Awesome.
Maybe we can get them on an interview one day, John.
Oh, you wouldn't want to do that. One of them's a Tottenham fan.
Oh, that's fine.
Can they get us tickets?
I can put that allegiance aside. It'd be interesting to hear from them about their travels, so maybe we can sort that out one day for an interview. We'll see what we can do. It depends if they got potty mouths, of course. Can't have that on this podcast. Anywho, that is it for us for another week. Once again, my apologies for us being a day late. I'm sure it only whet the appetite more in the expectation of coming into your ears again. So thank you very much for... No, not that, Tom. Behave. Put your mind back in the gutter. You're not in university now. Goodness sake. So yes, thank you very much for tuning in. As I apologise, we are a day late. As usual, I'm just going to do a couple of quick plugs. The website, please have a look at our website. It's kind of run and maintained by my good self, the footballhipsterspodcast.co.uk. Go to there, you can see all the fun stuff we're doing. Drew's Hall of Fame blog is up every Friday. Who is it this week, Drew?
Lizarazu?
Bizanti Lizarazu. And of course, you can look at all the previous Hipsters Choices, all the previous teams of the week. There's the Hall of Fame blog that Drew does, I've just mentioned there. And of course, our usual blogs, which Drew, you're working on another blog, aren't you, at the moment?
I am. It's the one we mentioned before. It's why Leicester City, if they do go on to win the league this year, why it's a good thing for not just the Premier League, but for football in general.
I have read it and it's excellent, so give that a look. Obviously, we'll promote that when it's out. You can, of course, go to our YouTube page as well, search the Football Hipsters, and you can listen to all of our back catalogue if you get that bored, or if not, just check out the interviews, the likes of Mina Rizuki, Rich Allen, the gentleman from Spain whose name escaped, John Driscoll, that Tom did. Sorry, Tom, that wasn't deliberate, genuinely. So yeah, do give those a listen. They're also excellent. And finally, iTunes reviews. West Ham fan Mark, I'm looking at you. If you're a new listener and you enjoy what we do, let us know. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Leave us a comment on YouTube. And feedback, obviously, is how we get better. So please do leave us a message. And the final thing, of course, breakfast pods. So myself and Ross did a breakfast pod covering all the English games for the Premier League from the last week gone by. Ross was very excited to talk about the Southampton game. So do give that a listen. Also, if you are desperate to find out how Danny's bathroom is coming along, do tune in, because Danny gives a full update, even letting us know about a certain facility he's had installed to clean certain areas of his body. Now, if that isn't a selling point to listen, I don't know what it is.
If you're a Liverpool fan, you probably don't want to listen to Ross, though.
No, he got very, very excited and loved every minute of it. So, yeah, you might want to give it a wide berth if you are a Liverpool fan. But, no, it's excellent. And the final thing to say is we are planning on doing a live special on Google Hangouts on YouTube. We are hoping to do it at some point during the international break, as well as myself and Ross talking about we're doing a championship special pod as well. But the live pod will happen. We just don't know when. I'm in the process of moving house in the next week, so it all comes down to how the internet gets set up and everything. So hopefully we'll have more news on that soon.
You'll have your own podcast room, won't you, Chris?
I will have my own room with my own podcast studio in, so things are only going to get better. Right, that's enough rambling from us. I will just say to all of our listeners, as usual, thank you so much for listening. Without you, this would be pointless. So thank you to you all. Keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy. And please, 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 Google Alessandro Diamanti. And I refuse to listen to anyone that says he doesn't look like Marv from Home Alone. So thank you, John. Thank you, Tom. And thank you, Drew.
Cheers.
Cheers.
No problem.
We have been the Football Hipsters, and we will speak to you very soon.
Toujours pour frapper le corner. Oh, quel geste! Quel geste! L'égalisation de Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Andrés Iniesta, se anima Andrés. Andrés tocó la evolución de Neymar. Messi.
Versucht alles aus sich rauszuholen. Verfolgt von Schmelzer. Müller vorbei an Weidenfeller. Müller. Bayern München ist Pokalsieger.
Può battere Insigne con il destro a giro. Adelante. Favoloso. Si gonfia la rete. Favoloso.